I'm Becher. This is my studio in Kensington. I specialise in handcrafting bespoke wedding rings, engagement rings, and any other sorts of jewellery that you can think of. Today we'll be making a bespoke men's wedding ring, custom designed for a client who wants diamonds set into what I call the ripple texture wedding ring. First of all, we start by melting down the gold. This here is 18 karat yellow gold, and we'll be melting it into an ingot. So once we've melted the ingot, we'll forge it, and then begins the process to roll it out into the shape that we want. The forging is really important to compact the crystal structure of the metal, because once we've melted it, it is in an annealed state. It's really soft, and the crystal structure is loose, but it's unevenly loose. So that's why we forge it before we work the metal any further. After forging the metal, it's really important to anneal it so that we've got a nice malleable piece of gold that can be worked through all the different stages to get it into the right proportions, so that I can bend it up and turn it into the ring that it will become. So now we've got the proportions right for our material, it's time to bend it up into a ring shape. So I use a combination of the ring bender and pliers just to get the ring into the perfect shape. And then cut through the join a couple of times just to make sure that it marries up together. So we check that there's no space there by holding it up to the light and seeing that no light filters down through the join. And once there's no light coming through, you know you've got a perfect tight join ready to solder. Now we've got our ring looking much more like a ring. We'll solder the ends together. How this is done is we heat it up to a certain point, and what will happen then is the solder will be drawn down through the join and create a sub-alloy. Now that our ring is actually a solid ring, it's time to get rid of any excess solder that is on the exterior. So tidy that up a little bit and give it a tap to harden the join, and then move on to just making sure that the ring itself is perfectly round. So I like to take my rings to a semi-finished state before actually texturing them. I feel it's important to have a nice even base. It just leaves a better finish overall at the end of the making of the ring. I file and emery the ring back almost to a polish prior to texturing over the top. So now we'll add that beautiful ripple texture and just make sure that it's even. I mean, it's always going to be unique. Every ring that has this texture has its own hammer pattern that can never be repeated. Now that the inside of the ring is smooth, we can hallmark it. So the first stamp to go in will be my hallmark, which is an EB in a little diamond type shape. And then next to that will be the metal fineness stamp. So that's 750 for 18 carat. The third stamp, the Gold and Silversmiths Guild of Australia stamp, means that it's been genuinely handcrafted in Australia. These stamps are also very handy for a valuer to be able to tell you how much your ring is worth and when it was made and by who. So they can be very helpful later down the track when your ring might get passed on to your children. So now we've got a ring. It could be left in this state and it's a beautiful ring, but we're going to add the diamonds in now. It's just going to make it that extra little bit special, add that little flair, and really personalise this design for the client. So the ripple texture emulates the sort of sun reflecting off the waves of the ocean when you look across to the horizon. So the diamonds will just add that little extra bit of sparkle to the concept and create something a little bit customised and unique to their aesthetic. So this is a design I've collaborated with the client to create, and it will be something that I'll likely use in the future. Originally I started jewellery just as a hobby as a teenager. My grandmother passed down some pearls and we found out in the end that they weren't actually real pearls, so Mum let me turn them into a choker. And that sort of started my love of jewellery making, and I'd always turn to it in times of stress to get through. So at uni I did a little bit, and then I was a little bit sick for a while with chronic migraines and found that the jewellery making was helpful to sort of concentrate on something other than having a really bad headache or a migraine. So I would just immerse myself in making, and a friend of mine saw what I was making and suggested that I study it. Was back then NMIT, and so I did. So it was sort of more as an interest and a hobby than a career-driven sort of thing back then. But I just loved it. I found the ability to melt down metal from one shape and reform it into something new, which is something that's really quite beautiful about the hand-making process. And having a ring that's made just for you, you can really feel special wearing it. And I know I feel like it's a special thing to make it.